All right, I'm going to call to order the May 16th, 2020 special meeting of the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. At this time, we'll do a roll call. Director Yesbick.
Present.
Director London.
Present.
Director Baglio.
Present.
Director Rossbach.
Present.
Director Riley.
Present.
Director Krieger.
Here.
And Director Gillum.
Here.
Okay. So, Tim, I'm not sure how the public comment, is she going to do that for us? Or?
Yeah, Carol, she's going up to room 315, the commission chambers, and she'll play it from there. So
Okay.
It's there.
It is muted.
She's a host. She can unmute herself.
Okay.
As soon as she gets up there.
Can you let?
Hello, my name is Leah Phillips. I run a business outside of the DDA.
This one won't go nearly as long as our last meeting.
Yeah.
Or the DDA people, businesses outside of.
We got half the agenda. So.
Mike, while we're waiting, if you want to move on to the minutes or something, so she we can.
Okay, item number four. Item number four, approval of the meeting minutes from April 15th, 2020. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yeah. I'll move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions? Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Item number 5, expense items. You have a list of monthly expenses for informational purposes. Questions? Director Riley.
Yeah, just real quick. The top one, the Effect TV ads, and then it looks like the WDIV spots. Those were basically the March ads. I'm assuming that those were the last that we ran. But so if Sean and or Tim can verify that we've suspended again, so we won't see anything for April. And then what is the $47.75 for the Effect TV ads?
Sean or Tim, could you direct you to that?
All of our ads are currently suspended right now. So what we've paid so far, what has occurred prior to the shutdown. So
Okay, so the 45.50 for DIV was for the spots. Just out of curiosity, what was the top one? Effect TV. Is that production?
That's Comcast.
Oh, okay. All right. So that was the last period. And
yeah, and just for the record, we did receive an invoice in error that billed us for some ads, but I'm sorting that out with WDIV right now, so we shouldn't have to pay anything for that one.
Okay, so that's not included in
That's
in
not
these.
included
Okay, gotcha. Okay, good.
Any other questions regarding the expense item, monthly expenses? Okay, no action needed on that. Should I move on, Tim, or is Carol ready? Or
Carol, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want to play the public comment?
Oh, okay. I had already done that. Let me run upstairs and do that.
It was muted.
We didn't hear it.
Oh, you know what? I'm just going to run it from my computer. If there's any issues with it, I can run upstairs and do it again, but I thought we'd already done that. Okay, let's see.
Hello, my name is Leah Phillips. I run a business outside of the DDA and was wondering if the city of Royal Oak or the DDA plans on helping people, businesses outside of the DDA parameters.
Okay,
Were you able to hear that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
I was. And just for public knowledge, I think, the DDA is guidelined by some rules in terms of their programs. But my understanding is that the city of Royal Oak has also received some, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but some block grant funds that might be used towards a small business program.
Well, outside the DDA area, they both have the county's program, which the Todd Fenton and the city have been active in. The block grant program, the commission has not directed us and finalized that yet. It's to come back at a May meeting. So I don't have the parameters of the block grant funding yet, but those would have to comply with federal requirements. So there are some limitations. But the general question is no, the DDA funds won't be outside the DDA boundary.
Just for clarification, was she referencing business help, or was she referencing if any of our programs are going to go outside of the DDA area?
I'm not sure that was clear. She did say she had a business outside the DDA district.
Okay.
Just for clarification, regardless, the answer is still the same, right?
Yeah, well, with the exception of the loyalty program, which will be given to residents all throughout Royal Oak to be used in the downtown area.
But
So they will derive some benefit from that.
I think she's looking for benefit for her business outside of the downtown area.
I understand.
Yeah.
It was a little, mine, it was a little garbled. I didn't hear that.
Right.
Okay.
Being no other public comment, I'm going to move on to item number 6, the downtown street light replacement. Tim?
Sure. This is a project that the DDA has funded. The one thing I would point out in the cover memo, I reference budgeting $1 million in the fiscal year 2021 development fund budget. It's actually 1.1 million, and that's been approved both by the DDA and by the city commission. This recommendation is in regards to hiring an electrical firm to actually install and replace light fixtures, taking all the sodium vapor lights, and you'll see a map in your packet that identifies those, replacing all those decorative lights with LEDs so that they all match in terms of color and brightness. Also, some of the poles and bases are not a standard size, so there's some of that being replaced as well. So this award would be to a company to do that installation. You'll see staff's recommendation is for Harlan Electric Company. That's both been reviewed by planning staff as well as electrician at DPS, and he's comfortable with that work as well, or that recommendation as well. What hasn't been decided is whether to install these with an epoxy or without an epoxy. And what that basically is that we take the pole down, there are bolts that anchor it in, and we're still trying to make a decision as to what's the best approach in terms of how the poles get reestablished and installed. And so we're still looking at that. That's why you see 2 columns and 2 separate bids there. You'll also see that the cover memo includes the actual acquisition of the materials. We have a particular supplier that supplies all of the light poles that are in the downtown, the decorative ones. So you'll see the total budget if you were to follow staff's recommendation for Harlan Electric Company and the estimated costs for the materials. The total overall project would be $1,070,193 and some 19 cents. And again, I will indicate that I had a typo in there. The fiscal year 2021 budget is sufficient to cover this project in its totality. So there is a resolution there to, if the DDA is in agreement, to move forward with Harlan Electric at either of the two costs once staff decides whether to use or not to use epoxy.
Okay. Questions? Director Baglio.
Tim, I didn't do my homework, but is the estimate here reflective of the using with epoxy, without epoxy, or a combination of both?
I used it, the greater number.
Okay.
Director Riley.
Yeah, real quick question. On the cover sheet that shows Harlan and McNaughton McKay together, McNaughton McKay total material prices approximately $972,000, and then a little further down, back a few pages, there's a quotation from them for $872,000. I'm wondering why the difference. Where's the $100,000 difference?
Let me see. I believe.
Well,
I'm trying to figure out what's in there. The second page is not in the front.
Because the numbers kind of match up. You go from 249 to 256. On the polls, you got 10 and 10, and you go 139 to 140. So the numbers of the material match up.
114.
Actually, there's more material in the quote than in the actual staff page.
Well, I'd have to go back and look, I guess, in terms of the McNaughton McKay, but we're not authorizing anything with that. So I just had asked to put in a total so you'd see it, but obviously we would follow their actual quote.
So if we're following their quote, then we're actually going to come in.
Well, you're under budget either way, but just add 98,000 to 872 if the numbers don't match up. 249. Placement light and globe. It could be that some of the I have to go back and verify what it is, but the only request in front of the board today is actually authorize the electrical installation.
Okay. Director Rossback.
Just really quickly, just to re-trigger my brain, is this going to correct some of the lights that are out in downtown as well, or no?
No.
Okay.
This is simply taking care of the poles and the light fixtures themselves. It's not the underground wiring that's there. Having said that, the DDA and the City Commission have already authorized on a separate project, the replacement of all the concrete pavers downtown and the repair and replacement of the lights that are out on 4th Street. So those are getting fixed under a separate contract.
Anything else, Director Rosbach, on that? Director Riley.
Yeah, and Tim, I'm just wondering, so basically when we take the two programs and put them together, 4th Street will be, we can assume that all the lights will be nice and everything will work. Do we have any idea, or are we looking at away from 4th Street? Are there, I know there's not an area like that where they were all out, but do we have any idea of like how many light poles there are that are not functioning that we need to address? Has anybody looked at that?
I believe the DPS electrician has an inventory of ones they're aware of, and it varies as far as the reasoning. I don't know that it's complete in terms of a fix there. I think we'll look at it once these two projects are done and see where our problems are at.
So basically the plan will be to take care of 4th Street, implement all of the new light poles and see how many problems are corrected by that, because I would assume some of them are probably faulty poles. And then after that, then we'll go and assess the little spotty light poles or whatever and come up with a plan for that. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, Director Yazbek.
Did the infrastructure committee look at the proposed poles and lights, decorative poles, or did this just go straight to the bid? Or
well, the infrastructure committee and the DDA have looked at the street inventory map. They've looked at this program in its totality. What has not been in front of the infrastructure committee was the actual bids from the electrician. We haven't had meetings recently, so rather than delaying this, we simply brought the bids from the various electrical firms right straight to the board.
I guess my thought, just thinking out loud, I don't know one way or the other. In light of the uncertainty of what's going on in the world right now, and specifically our downtown, does it make sense to spend $1 million on the decorative lights right now, or would it make a little more sense to push pause and see how this thing unfolds? Let's make sure we have a downtown to illuminate before we spend the money. I don't know, just a thought. I'm not sure if that's right or wrong, but wondered what you guys thought of that.
Tony, I would be in agreement with you on that.
Well, the one thing that I would say, to me, this is something that it's got to be taken care of sooner or later. I mean, it just, and I think if we came to the point where, like, if we were in a situation where we needed another $1 million, I think there's other ways to do it without pushing pause on this. In fact, as it was, the city paused the 4th Street thing a month, which I think that's something that we've been clamoring for. No matter what.
I wouldn't pause the 4th Street because their lights aren't working. So I definitely would move forward with that. I'm talking about the other $1 million that we're considering here today.
So I guess I would ask, is the concern that we're going to need that $1 million for more of a rescue type program or what? And
Again, I guess my response is the uncertainty. I
Okay.
mean, who knows what's going to happen here.
Well, again, the one thing I would say is that, you know, even with the programs that we're doing, we still have a reserve balance, which just got hiked by another $500,000 that came back because we originally had budgeted 1.5 million for 4th Street, and that's going to come in around $1 million. There's other, you know, things that we've identified on here that I would estimate anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 worth of stuff that is not going to happen at all. And there's other things. Tim, like one thing, the phase 2 of the downtown park, the $1.5 million that's in there. My estimation would be with the pushback and the delay in the construction and everything like that, that probably is not going to go in next year's fiscal budget. In other words, before June 30th of 21.
Well, the actual, I don't expect that you're going to spend $1.5 million in the 2021 fiscal budget for phase 2 of the park. Some of it will get spent, but it won't be all of it. It probably wouldn't even be 50% of it, but some of it will go out. I think the bigger reason for putting the phase 2 in was to confirm with the design firm, get them going forth on actual construction documents, getting it all bid at one time so that everything came back on it. In terms of money, I would bring up two points for the DDA. You're currently generating TIF revenue well in excess of what you need for ongoing type activities and projects, and you need large projects to spend the TIF revenue that you have coming in on an annual basis. If you simply pile money up, the state and other taxing jurisdictions are going to start looking at you to take that money back. So I would strongly recommend that you not delay projects that you feel are worthwhile and necessary. On the other hand, if you don't think this is necessary, by all means cancel it. But if it's a necessary project, you're going to have well in excess of $1 million, $2 million in your fund balance at the end of this fiscal year, if you spend everything that you have budgeted currently. So I wouldn't anticipate that you'd have a funding issue, but if you don't think this is a necessary project, by all means, cancel it. Staff's put a lot of time and effort into putting this together, and when I say staff, it's DPS, it's the electricians, it's the people from McKay, and you've got all the bids into it. So anyways, that's
okay. So I have a number of hands here on the screen, so let me get through them one at a time. Director London, did you have something that you wanted? Are you?
No, I'm good now.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, Director Rosbeck, I'm going to go to you next.
I guess I appreciate Tim's perspective on this. If our TIF money is coming in well above what this expenditure really is, I could see us moving forward with it. I think I think there's a difference between creating or improving our facades versus fixing the problem. So I would hope that the 4th Street project go before any of these fixtures, or if we do agree to go forward with this, make sure the fixtures for those that are out or have problems get put on the secondary priority or the first priority to get fixed before we improve, create a better light, but it still doesn't work.
Okay. I'm going to just interrupt for one quick second. I have a question for Tim. So Tim, between the two programs here, the one we're discussing now and the one that's already been approved for the 4th Street and street paver improvements, is there any correlation in terms of getting the work done together as a unit, or are they two completely separate? I know they're two completely separate projects, but are we replacing new poles and then coming back later and taking down those poles in order to fix the wiring it has to go to the fixtures? Does that make sense? My question makes sense to you?
Yeah, the 4th Street project and the lights that are on 4th Street are not included in this project. It's
right.
Review today. They are totally separate. We're not replacing any of the fixtures along there under this project. Those are all being covered under the one for 4th Street and the brick pavers. They have different contractors. Obviously, the supplier of the materials will be the same for the light fixtures, but none of that's included in this particular project.
And there's no need, you don't feel there's a need to correlate these two in terms of getting the work done?
Well, they'll be coordinated in a fashion so they're not stumbling over each other out in the field.
Okay.
I think both projects are planned to be done late in the summer currently, early fall. And that's one of the questions that we have internally, is whether that's the best idea. But that's how they were set up, because a lot of the events now are wanting to move back into the fall and whether we should be doing these early. But that's a discussion we'll have about how we want and when we want to plan them. But initially they were all planned to be done in the fall before winter.
Okay. Director Baglio?
A couple comments and a question for Tim. Tim, is there a possibility to move these up closer to spring now that most of the events have been either canceled or temporarily rescheduled for the fall? Can we get those done now to minimize the inconvenience, especially the 4th Street project? Because my understanding is that's tied into some of the brick paver work as well. So that's going to be an inconvenience for those business owners. Better to get it done now while they're closed, or before things kind of somewhat return to.
Well, and that's what I was indicating, is that we are looking at what schedule makes the most sense. The city commission is getting an update at probably its next meeting in regards to when events want to be rescheduled to. If they bless and improve those events at those new dates, I think there will be an emphasis to not do this work while those things are occurring. So we'd still have to meet with the contractors, make sure it meets their schedule. This project in particular, though, we've got quite of a lead time in ordering the materials. So I don't know how much faster I can do it. It's going to be done periodically through the year as we get materials made. They can only make so many of the posts and the light fixtures at a time. We haven't ordered any yet because you haven't awarded the contract for installation. But if that occurs today, we'll start ordering the materials. And I don't remember the exact lead time, but it's in weeks. And then we'll have a construction on a weekly basis. So I'm not sure how much I can move this forward, but we can certainly work around where events are occurring. The other project on 4th Street and the brick pavers, obviously, and I've already talked with city engineer Holly Donahue about not and maybe adjusting that project, but we're kind of waiting to see what the commission does with the events.
Okay.
That actually leads to another question. My comment was, I feel like we should move forward with this project. Anybody that knows me on here knows that I'm all about lighting, and there is a big discrepancy. I don't know if you noticed it or not. on with the older lights as opposed to the new. And I feel like once we do come out of this, if the city looks bright and shiny, it's going to add a new atmosphere all in and of itself. So I'm for doing this particular project now. The other question I have, Tim, and this is off this topic, but maybe it's a good time to address it. Some of the events that the city commission is addressing, we've approved budgetary dollars for those. And since the city commission has already approved the permits for June, do we lose any input as to whether or not we would like to rescind some of that funding or review some of those events?
Under other business, I was going to bring up and discuss what the basic outline would be for the two events that the DDA is providing funding to and where they've asked to be moved. But I was going to do that under other business.
Okay, that we'll cover it then. I have nothing else.
Just a couple things, guys, real quick. The lead time on the new light poles, 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. So, you
okay.
know, I agree with Director Baglio. One, the state of our lights. I'm with him all day on lighting, and the state of our lights is worse than I think a lot of us think. I mean, there's some that are downright embarrassing, in my opinion, and I also agree with him that we've got a really good chance here with some of the programs that we're doing, and the state of some of our neighboring communities, that we have a real advantage to get some stuff right here and to really actually turn some of these negatives into a positive. So I'm in total agreement that we ought to dress the place up.
Okay.
I would move to approve this.
Well, one more question, one more hand I got raised, and then we'll get to that. Okay. Director Krieger, please.
Well, Matt took the words out of my mouth. I was going to move the motion.
Do it.
Or the resolution. So I'll second Director Riley's resolution.
Okay, so we have a motion by Director Riley, seconded by Director Krieger.
Mike, what I'll do too, on just so the board has it, I'll check the material quote versus what's in the cover letter and send an email out to make sure that we're getting you the right figures.
Okay. Okay.
I'm with you though, Tim. I would assume that the quote is right and that somehow something got transposed.
Okay. All right. If there's no other comments or questions, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the motion passes. Okay, let's move on. So we're on to item number 7 here, and just a matter of procedure, I want to remind the board here that item 7 and item 8 are cohesive to each other, but we're taking these separately. So I want to try and save any discussion that might come in for item 8 to item 8 and so forth, and concentrate on item 7 first. And then any other discussion we can take on when we call for item number 8. So item number 7 is Rebound Royal Oak Small Business Recovery Program. You have some information attached, and I don't know if Tim or Sean.
I would let Sean kind of walk through what he's drafted. We've reviewed it, but I think he can briefly run through the Rebound program, and then I can add comments after that.
Okay.
Let me. I'll quickly read through this. So this is a recommendation from the Business Marketing Committee. Just as a side note, the Business Marketing Committee has been working extremely hard on this. I want to say that they've had at least 3 or 4 committee meetings since the last DDA meeting to actually design this, to go over this again and again. So I just wanted to acknowledge all their hard work that they've done to put into this. Basically, this program, the committee is recommending that the DDA establish the Rebound Royal Oak Small Business Recovery Program for downtown businesses affected by the coronavirus outbreak. This is a grant program available to businesses who are either salons, restaurants, retailers, coffee shops, or entertainment venues. They're recommending that there be a cap of no more than 50 employees for the qualified business, and that all of the businesses have to be located within the downtown development district. As I mentioned, it's in the form of a grant. The idea behind this is that this grant is providing assistance to help businesses re-incubate and contend with obstacles of reopening, recovering from losses, bringing their staff back on, and then, of course, dealing with the uncertainty of whatever this market's going to look like when these orders are lifted. So we've gone through our TIF plan pretty thoroughly, and we think we've found a lot of really good points that can help reinforce the fact that we can go forward with this grant. As Tim mentioned, he and I have been going over this pretty thoroughly. We've also been communicating with the city attorney just to make sure that we're on the right track with all of this. The committee is also recommending that the grant be dispersed in 2 payments. First, when the businesses reopen, and then the second one will follow about 4 to 6 weeks after that. The reason for that is we want to make sure that businesses are A, staying open, and that B, that they're still following the guidelines to make them eligible for the grant funds, to make them qualify for that second payment. Lastly, the Business Marketing Committee is recommending that out of that $2 million that was allocated last meeting, that $1.3 million from that $2 million be allocated specifically to this program, and that we're looking at having applications go live on Monday, May 11th. We have a website that's near completion. Right now for the public, it's just a landing page that just tells you that applications will be live Monday, May 11th at 10 a.m. And our intention with this is we are going to have, the finished website available for the DDA to review. So we'll be sending out a link for you guys to take a look at it. You guys can try it out, maybe send a few test applications to make sure that everything's working properly. Just to make sure that, when we go live with this, we don't run into any obstacles or glitches. So there's also a resolution with this that basically just encapsulates everything that I've just explained.
Right. Thank you, Sean. Okay. I'm sure we've got some questions here. Remember, this is just the first portion of this. So, who wants to chime in here first? Any questions for anybody here? We have Sean's here, Tim's here, Mr. Gillum's here. If we have any questions regarding this portion of the program as we move forward.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm going to go with Director Baglio first, please.
I'll go first with some questions, and I might have more afterwards. Number one, Sean, the website, are all of the, is it everything applicable online and electronic with the ability to upload documents? Yes, no?
Yes. So there's a couple versions. So primarily we want to steer people to the electronic application. There's a couple sections of that application where you have to upload documents. So that is possible in this online application. For people who want to do it old school and want to feel more comfortable filling out a paper application, when you go to the website and you click to apply, you do have the option of downloading a PDF, completing it, scanning it, and emailing it back to us.
Okay. And then, Director, I don't know who wants to take this. And there's a train coming by.
You're good.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
My other question is, can anybody lightly go over the criteria?
Yeah, I'll handle that. Basically, the application, everything that we put in it is the criteria that we're looking for. And the long and the short of it is that we are going to wait until we receive all the applications
so we know how many we're looking at. We see what's out there and what numbers are out there, et cetera, and until we finalize what criteria will be used. Also, the more time that goes by, I go back to what I said at the very beginning of this process, that it's an incredibly fluid situation and it literally changes daily. And stuff may happen in the next week or two where it may cause the criteria to be adjusted. The bottom line is we are going to, and I know Tim's going to bristle at this, but we're going to move fairly quickly on this. I know there's not a time frame given here, but we're going to give to the 18th to get the apps in. The whole BMC feels that a week is more than enough time to get this in. I think if you guys have looked at the app, which I'm sure you all have, I think the majority of the apps will probably come in within the first 24 hours. We will have, not only will we send out notification immediately via email, I'm assuming via social media, via press release, we will be following up with phone calls for people who either A, have not submitted an app that we think probably, falls within the confines of the program. For people who submit, in other words, there's certain stuff that we're asking for, like, payroll hours, and we understand that people may misinterpret something or whatever. We will look at the apps as they come in and make sure that we get complete information. Look, we don't want to, we're not like the SBA or some of these banks where if you don't dot an I or cross a T, you're going to not only go to the bottom of the pile, you're going to get thrown out. That's not our intention here. Our intention here is to help as many of the local independent businesses that we can and help them to keep their doors open. We can't solve everything. We can't take away all their debt, but our goal is to help everybody, and we're going to be amenable to that, and we're going to move fast. And now, what I will say is that obviously everything that we do is going to be transparent. You guys are going to have to bless everything before anything is issued. We have been agonizing, trying to figure ways to make it as fair as possible. For when I say sectors, I mean the different sectors involved in the grant qualifications, if you will, whether it's retail, whether it's a bar, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a salon, whether it's an entertainment venue. So the short answer is we don't have the exact criteria now, but the criteria is pretty much everything that's on the application. And by the way, our goal is, so the apps come in between the 11th and the 18th. The BMC will go through everything for a week by the 25th. If we have to work 16 hours a day, we will do that. And we would anticipate scheduling another DDA meeting the 27th of this month to hopefully approve all this and to bring a few other things to the table that we're not ready to bring to the table today in terms of ancillary programs to help the businesses and to rejuvenate our economy.
Okay. Did you have something else, Director?
Just a quick question for Sean. Sean, what's your comfort level in ensuring that nobody falls through the cracks? I mean, sometimes programs that we roll out via email, people don't read their emails, someone misses it. A lot of businesses are closed right now. People aren't even at them. Are you comfortable that you'll be able to make sure that everybody that's entitled to this will get the message?
I'm actually glad you asked that. So I think the trick is redundancy. So we're going to be sending out regular emails to the contacts that we have already in our business database. we understand that not everybody opens those emails. So we're going to be following up as well. If this program is passed, we'll be moving forward with launching a mailer tomorrow that has all of the information of where they need to go and when the applications go live. That will go to all of the addresses that we have on file for businesses that we believe fall into those business categories that qualify. We will also be bringing on that individual who was voted on and funded last meeting. And some of her responsibilities will be actually going down our call list and making phone calls to all of the businesses as well, just to make sure that they're aware of it and that they know that there's the website that they go to, reboundroyaloak.com. When we near the application deadline, we want to go through and see which businesses that potentially qualify that haven't yet. And we want to send out personalized reminders by phone and by email just to make sure that everybody has the opportunity. Now, that's not saying that somebody might not fall through the cracks. Surely there are no absolute guarantees, but I think that we're going above and beyond to really, really reduce that likelihood as much as we possibly can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Director Krieger, please.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the BMC and more specifically Director Riley for spearheading this. I know that he's been working very, very hard. Everybody's worked very hard on it. But second of all, I had a question, and maybe I missed it. And the question, and I think that you kind of touched on it, Director Riley, when you were talking, that my question was, how do you determine who gets what? Is it a percentage of something? And you said it's a fluid thing right now, and you're going to kind of determine as it goes. So it was just a sheer, I may have missed it, but it was a curiosity of just, how, if people are giving you rent and income and yada, 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 how do you figure out who gets what?
And that's a really good question. And again, once we see the numbers, and for lack of a better description, I mean, I'll just tell you, I've gone through a couple different ideas in terms of rankings, in terms of different scenarios, and we're gonna put it into a database and take a look. At first, the main thing is going to be, what are we looking at? In other words, what's the total of this? What's the total of this?
Yeah, right.
And that in other words, and another thing is going to be is how many apps we get in there. How many total are looking at that, and we're going to again, transparency is important here. We're going to look at it a few different ways and step back and eyeball it and talk it around and see what makes the most sense and what's the most fair. And I'm just going to give you some of my, I guess one thing I can like the how do we rate payroll? Okay. Well, if you give, it's obviously going to be a factor, but if you give too much weight to payroll, well, then you're going to end up punishing certain sectors. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The retailers, for instance, will, based on square footage, they will never carry the same type of payroll as a restaurant or a bar. The salons, a large majority of their stylists are independent contractors. They do have people on the payroll, who are either working maintenance or who are administration, front desk, what have you. So we need to see what those numbers are. And again, our goal is to be not only as fair as possible, but to be smart and to do whatever we can to give every one of our businesses the best chance to succeed throughout this whole thing. And that goes the other programs that we're going to discuss next also dovetail into that. One thing that I'm going to address now, because it's the elephant in the room, and we may as well talk about the elephant in the room. There's been a lot of talk about why are we not including whether business to business companies or offices, what have you. Okay, and there's a number of issues, a number of reasons that the committee, why we decided what we did. The first one, and the most glaring, in my opinion, is that every one of the businesses that we're talking about helping here has been forced to close through government orders.
Right.
Okay, they've been forced to be shut down. Some of them sooner than others. I believe restaurants went down around March 15th. Restaurants and bars, retail, salons weren't far behind that. Nobody knows when they're going to open up. We're pretty sure just about everybody that we're going to be helping here, pretty much you can guarantee that none of them are going to be anywhere near 100% capacity when they open up. Nobody knows for how long that'll be. The business to business people, and again, just like I've said with regard to our programs, that there's no one size fits all. And I don't want to generalize and say none of them have been forced to cease their operations, because I'm sure there might be some that I'm not thinking of, but the majority of them are still able to conduct their business. I understand that it's not at the levels that they had before, but it's not like they laid up. The people that we're looking at, most of them laid off their entire staff. They have no income except for some of the restaurants are doing, carry out and deliveries, which is,
that doesn't do anything for you, really, right? I mean, come on.
So that's number one. Number two, the Paycheck Protection Program is not doing a lot of favors for the sectors that we're helping here. In other words, if any of them got them, they have 8 weeks from the time they get them to use it for payroll. And some people said, well, they can use 25% for running utilities. Well, no, they can't, not unless they use it. The only part that's forgivable, and I don't want to go into the whole program, but the only part that's forgivable on the rent and utility side is 25% of what they use on the payroll side.
Right.
The majority of the people that we're helping here will not be open within the 8 weeks that they've gotten their payroll or paycheck protection loan. So it will all convert into a loan, which is great. They'll have money, but they've just added a ton of debt, and they're trying to rebuild a business. On top of that, they're going to have to get their workers back. And the majority of them have laid them off. And believe me, we're already hearing stories about, because of the $600 federal unemployment that was added, workers are, particularly at the workers at the level of pay that work in the places that we're helping here, a lot of them are pretty much, some people have called back. My sister has a place in Chicago. Her people said they're not going to come back till the end of July. I mean, they're just not. So you're going to have that issue. On top of which, a lot of the business to business people and the office types have other avenues that they can pursue for forms of finance, whether it's bank loans, revolver, lines of credits, far easier than the people in these sectors. The people, generally the retailers, the bars and restaurants, they really don't, the main asset they carry is their goodwill. They don't have physical assets or accounts payable, accounts receivable, or contracts or something like that they can use as collateral to borrow against. And the last thing that I'll say is that, and I know all businesses will face that, but these sectors especially are going to be facing a ton of extra cost associated with the new normal of conducting business. Okay, so costs, whether it's gloves, whether it's masks, whether it's protocol with employees, screening them every day, it's going to be a whole different world. So again, I know there's a lot of businesses that are not happy that they're not included in this, but if I was one of them, I would feel the same way. I would say, what about me? I'm a taxpayer. This, that, and they make a very compelling and cogent argument. We've decided that our number one goal again is to help these places, and our job as the DDA is to maintain a thriving downtown area and economy. And I think a lot of it, starts with the people that we are working with here.
Okay. Any other Director Rosbeck?
So I think you guys have done a really great job. I'll echo what what Director Krieger has said. What I wanted to get some clarification on is we have salons within our footprint that are one of many locations. Are we able to tie this money relief, if they do request it, to their Royal Oak location? That's my first question. My second question would be, as the only non-business owner on this commission, I want to make sure that this is really as transparent as it should be. I've already heard the complaints that by others that we are just putting money in our own pockets as being part of the downtown authority, but I don't believe that's the intent of this program at all. And I think I echo what Director Riley has said is to preserve our vital downtown. But with that said, I'd like to make sure that if people are applying for this grant, that they are applying, that we have an ask in it too, for them to be promoting the positiveness of being in downtown Royal Oak. I mean, I don't want to hear that we've given someone a grant of money and then they complain about parking, or they complain that they don't get enough traffic. I get that those are all these great issues, but we've just helped support to keep them open. So I'm wondering if your plan has anything, any kind of grabbers in it to keep someone who is taking opportunities with this to be positive about Royal Oak, and to make sure if they have multiple locations that it stays in Royal Oak.
Okay, so two parts to that. Director Riley, will you address?
I'm gonna let Sean handle the first part on the multiple locations in a second, and I'll handle the second part real quick.
Okay.
We actually had tossed around ideas of like requiring, certain participation in certain programs, particularly like with the loyalty card. And we are going to strongly encourage it. There's no question about that. One of the reasons that we stayed away from making it an out and out requirement is that we had to empathize with some of these owners, and we everyone's got a different situation with their business. And basically at a time like this, to come to them and for example, with the loyalty card, one of the things that we tossed around, which we still might do, is to promote on our end like 10% off for the next 2 months, and on everything in downtown Royal Oak. Well, we could have people opt into that, but to force that down somebody's throat, we don't know what margins everybody's working on. In other words, we might be inflicting more pain by forcing them into something like that, and that's the last thing we want to do. And we certainly don't want to be dictating to any of these businesses how to run their business when they're sitting there wondering the same thing in this type of a situation, something they've never dealt with before. They just want to get the doors open and try to get some cash flowing. So
I would agree with that. I'm not advocating that we ask for them to create more sales for them. That's not at all. I'm advocating that we can't hear disparaging remarks. I'm saying put some teeth into that comment of the DDA is providing support to this business. The disparagement of Royal Oak cannot be part of that, though. That's all I'm saying.
And Director Gillum, I mean, I don't know that we can put out there and I mean, I would love to say, look, guys, we're helping you out. Don't say bad things, but I don't know what to tell you. I don't think we can dictate what people say. I mean, what I've had conversations.
You can do it with non-disclosure. So I'm not advocating a non-disclosure, but I am stating that there are ways to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Director London, please.
Yeah, I don't think you can tell a person they can't complain. I mean, you don't know their personal situation. I personally have put in thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of my own personal money to stay afloat. And if I'm having a bad day and I got $10,000, but I'm still way in the debt, of course I'm not going to complain because I made that choice to save myself and save my business.
Right.
But
I
don't think you can tell them. They can't, you don't know what we're going through. You have no idea because you don't own a business that what I am doing to stay afloat. It makes me want to cry on a daily basis, but I choose not to cry. I choose to fight the good fight, and I'm doing my best. But you're not asked in your job to pay out of your own pocket, see your own savings to dwindle, and you're closed. And you have to survive the best you can. So I've never complained to the media, and I don't intend to complain. But I don't think you can tell someone they can't complain.
And I think the best thing that we can do as a body and as a group is what I said from the get-go, is we just need to do everything, and we need to be leaders, and we need to try to foster, unity and just try, because I mean, look, Jennifer, I agree with you 100%. It's not going to do anybody any good to air any dirty laundry in the media or to customers or anything like that. I mean, but the bottom line is, people are people. I think Director Baglio and I had this conversation. I said, no matter what we do, there are going to be people who are going to not be happy with either this program or that program because it doesn't help them that much, or they're going to find out, just like employees in the back when they're comparing paychecks, that somebody got more than this guy did, and why did that happen? They may have been happy with what they got, and then they found out that the guy next door got $200 more, and now they're upset about it. Human nature. I don't know what to do. I mean, we can only do the best that we can to try to, again, be as fair as we can and do everything we can to try to help the downtown area. And that's what we're doing.
Okay. Director Gillum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess just a comment on that. I think we'd be within our rights to have some language in whatever program documents that we have that would prohibit somebody who's obtaining a grant from making public comments criticizing the grant program itself. I don't think you can go much above and beyond that. But having said that too, then the question becomes, how are you going to enforce that? I mean, what happens if somebody makes some disparaging comments to the press after they've got their first payment, but they haven't got the second payment? Does that mean you're not going to give them the second payment?
Right.
Or what if they make the comments after they've received all the money? Does that mean we're going to try to go to court? Are we going to sue them to get the money back? But I still think we could probably have some language in whatever grant documents that we have, if nothing else, to just try to discourage that thing on the front end at a minimum.
If we
other things we could deal with as they come up.
I think that it's an added value to the program, and I also think even if you wanted to advocate for them to give a testimonial about it, I totally get that. As I am a non-business owner, I cannot stand in your shoes, Lori, and I understand what you're going through, but I can't too. So I appreciate that. I guess I'm looking at this as we've done this. We've created this really great program. There are ways to keep it positive and maybe leverage it for future use.
Okay. I have a question while we're up here.
Sean never answered the franchise question.
Oh, okay. I'll let Sean go first then. Sean, did you want to address that, Sean?
Sure. Yes. So we do have some businesses that would qualify for this grant. Small business, less than 50 employees, but let's say that their location in Royal Oak is their second location. So the question would be, how do we confirm that they take this grant fund and they apply it to their Royal Oak location? Because I guess the first thing that comes to mind with that is because we are splitting this payment up into two payments, we could put some kind of requirement before the second payment is dispersed whether they present a receipt or some sort of proof of payment that they spent their first disbursement of the money on a local expenditure. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Other than that, I would say I'm not exactly sure how you'd be able to go about enforcing it above and beyond just having that requirement.
Well, Sean, because we had discussed this and we talked about the language of, putting in there that all funds had to be spent on business-related expenses. And then I think you had brought up the multiple location thing. And then we talked about adding in at your Royal Oak business, or defining it that way. And again, what if we want to go further and ask for proof, that's fine. But I agree with Jennifer that just to have the language in there is impactful.
Okay.
So I'm totally in favor of adding the language that Director Gillum talked about. Just in encouraging that this not be done, and
Okay.
we put something in there that not only do the funds need to be used for your business, but if you have multiple locations, it is for your business only in the downtown development area.
Okay. So my question, I think, is probably for Mr. Gilliam or Mr. Twain here. One of the things we have not discussed about this program is the actual disbursement of those funds. And when we do disperse funds, is there a certain method that needs to be followed, or a document that needs to be signed and returned to go along with the checks that are issued? Am I making sense what I'm asking here?
Well, from my standpoint, and Dave can jump in whenever he'd like, but Sean and I have talked about, and I know the committee has a recommendation that they want to bring forward, but from a procedural standpoint, if you approve this today and we go out and get applications and they come in, it's the intent of staff to use the criteria that's in the application in the sense of, the items that are there, the monthly rent, the square footage, that sort of thing. And we're going to score them using a scoring method and give that to the BMC committee for their digestion and how they want to digest it and deal with it from there, and then forward a recommendation to the full board in the sense of, do we have 100 applications? Do we have 200, or do we only have 50? So you'll get all of those at the meeting. If the schedule that Mr. Riley's talking about is May 27th or the May 20th meeting, you'll get all of those applications as well as our scoring methodology as far as what we used for that criteria. After that, if you've approved the grants, as my understanding is the committee is recommending, this is not a loan with a forgivable period or anything like that. It's a grant. So very similar to the facade program grant, I'm going to file check requests with the finance office based on their AP calendar and have all of those checks returned to Sean or myself, and we'll get those initialed and dated by the individual applicants that they picked them up, and that'll be the end of it. At the point the DDA and committee decide that a second disbursement is ready, we will follow that same process and give them their second disbursement.
So, Mr. Gillum, would that be a good time to possibly draw up a document that when they pick up their check or their check is given to them, that they would, that you could come up with some sort of language?
Well, Mike, I would just simply put the wording that in the application is at the bottom is by signing the application.
Okay.
You acknowledge that you will do whatever that language is. You won't be disparaging. You understand you have to spend that money in the city of Royal Oak downtown development district. And by signing the application, you're acknowledging that. I don't think we need another piece of paper to chase this around. I think we want to keep it simple.
Is there anybody on
Disagrees.
the board that has objection to that? Because I think it's something we need to do immediately if we're going to add this to the application.
Yeah, Mike, I would say I agree with that. I don't know that we have to have a separate document. And something else that we may want to have in there too is authorization from the business that's receiving the check for the DDA to use the name of their business in advertisements and other promotional materials relative to the program and the DDA in general.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. If there's no objection, then we'll have Sean proceed in that manner and work with Mr. Twing and Mr. Gillum to get that added to the application form. Any objection?
Nope.
Okay.
No objection, but I just want to be just clear on my understanding. The application is going to have this additional language. We're not suggesting we're going to prepare an additional document for when they get the check. Everything will be contained in the application.
Correct. Correct. Okay.
On that note, Sean, one other quick change on the application, and you and I talked about this today, but back where it's got what was the average total monthly payroll hours worked for the year 2019, and you've got the blank there. Can you add just in bold formal documentation required? You know where I'm talking, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can add that. That's not a problem. And then at the end of that application too, we do reiterate that point too, that they have to submit documentation to prove that. But I can put it below that.
And you've done a real good job at pounding. And one more place that we can put it is in the program mechanics section, section 3 application criteria, where you've got C is the 3 months rent. I would add a D. I would make D, applicant must submit documentation verifying monthly payroll hours, and then the next two become E and F. Okay, downtown co-marketing is E. Applicants will be encouraged to participate in business development seminars F. That way we're just pounding it home.
I did just want to add as well. So how this website is being set up, when you apply online, it stores the application, and then there's two ways to actually view the submission. One way is that we can print off a PDF of the application that's already pre-filled out by the applicant that you can look at individually. The second way is that we can export an entire list of the data that has been submitted. So this will make it tremendously easy for us to objectively process this data. So I just wanted to just make everybody aware of that too, that this is the way that this is being designed, is that it's intended to be very data driven, and that we're trying to take the subjectivity out of this as much as possible.
Thank you, Sean. Okay.
Mr. Chair, a couple questions.
Director Gillum.
Thank you. The first question I had to do with the issue of the service businesses, because that had come up in a meeting that we had with the county and the chamber on Monday, but I appreciate Matt's explanation, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So the second question I had, I guess, is really more a process then. Do I understand right then, when this comes back to the DDA the next time, are we actually going to be approving criteria and then based upon that criteria approving the award of the grants? Do I understand that right, or is it going to be a little bit different? So.
Our intention was to bring back the grants.
Well, I'll add in from a staff standpoint. Sean and I worked on a scoring method based on the criteria that's in the application and the amended parts that will get approved today. We'll score that, give that to the Business Marketing Committee. And the Business Marketing Committee will give their overview and their reasoning and recommendation for what they want to forward. It would be my intent to bring all of that to the DDA to see and award as how they were scored and evaluated, so that you can make a decision. If you disagree with the criteria that was used or the scoring that was used, obviously I would think the board could have an opportunity at that point to change it, make a different decision based on that. Up until that point, I would see it as a recommendation.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions regarding item number 7 here?
Well, I have, Mike, I have two other comments just for clarity out there for everyone. And I just want to throw it on for, if a DDA board member wants to apply, I see no reason why you can't apply. You will need to abstain from any discussion in regards to your application, whether it's at the committee level or at the board level. And I would suggest you don't even participate in the meeting or that part of the meeting when a board member's application come up. Again, this goes back to keeping everything transparent and above the board and ethics ordinance and things. So a board member can apply, in my opinion. I don't participate in committee, don't participate in emails regarding it, don't participate in any level in regards to that evaluation.
Okay, good info.
Secondly, if this comes back during this fiscal year, May, for an award, part of the award will have to be to allocate the funds this year. So far, we've blessed all the money in next fiscal year. So those are the only 2 points I would bring up in addition to what's been brought up.
And we can, I mean, that's a simple, and that was something I asked you about was, you know, because we had approved this in the next year, that's as simple as us pulling something forward, right? Because I mean, the bottom line is in the budget that ends June 30th, 2020, there's still reserves there, but we haven't budgeted. So we'd have to make a motion to move something into a budget, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Have to allocate it.
Okay.
Director Rosbach, did I see your hand?
Yep. My question is, if this has to go to the VMC prior to the full committee, how are they going to judge it if most of the VMC potentially could have a application in?
Well, my comment is they shouldn't participate in their application. Gotcha. They can evaluate everyone else's, but they shouldn't participate in their particular.
I'll just say this. If you guys want to kick us the applications nameless, I'm fine with that. You can put a number on them as far as I'm concerned.
Blind. I think blind is a good way to go.
I don't care. Whatever you guys want. I'm that's fine with me.
You know, Matt, what I think may end up happening is you might find a system per use group, right? You might find a system for salons, a system for restaurants, and you can apply that, you know, like you guys said, blindly to each one. And I think that's going to be the fairest way to do it.
I agree.
Okay. Sean.
Just for clarity, is there a recommended application window that I should have in mind when you know, if this is approved and goes live? What are we dealing with in terms of the deadline?
The 18th. We talked
18th. Okay.
Yeah, we're giving them a week. Whatever, midnight on the 18th.
Yes, but we also have the fallback position of we have the list in front of us. We can see whose is coming in, whose is not coming in, and we have a mechanism for reaching out to those, you know, to make sure that they don't get left behind.
Sean and I talked about it that we will be within 2 days. We're going to be making calls. Like, where's your app?
Director Baglio.
Just for clarity, my understanding was that the checks will be issued in 2 parts once each business opened. But then I heard Mr. Twing say that the checks will be cut within May in this budgetary year. No, I don't think anybody knows when different parts of our downtown will be open. Restaurants will be a different opening date rather than, you know, an alcohol serving bar. So if, you know, a bar applies for this and doesn't open until August, their first check will they'll get in August, or is everybody getting them all at the same time?
No. If the economy opens by sector, they'll get them as soon as we possibly can after they open. I mean, we've got to ensure that the places are going to open.
Okay.
I think that benefits everybody. You know, the last thing that we want to do is issue a grant to somebody who has no intention of opening. I'm not saying that somebody's nefarious or whatever, but you know, we just the bottom line is these are meant to help them get their business back going. They're not meant to rescue anybody's business. If they do, that's great. But the bottom line is, yes. So in answer to your question, if checks are cut and small retail is the only one that's open, small retail will get their checks and everybody else will get theirs as they open. Yes. But they will know what their grant amount is, which should be able to help them either with other lenders or with other creditors, knowing that this money is coming. And I would dare say that they'll have documentation from the DDA saying that this money is coming.
Okay. I'm seeing no more hands here. I need to know what, there is a suggested resolution in the packet.
Mike, I would only have them add that the approval of the program with the application is as amended today.
Okay. All right. What is the wishes of the DDA? Director Rosbeck.
I'll make the motion to approve this program with the changes to the application as made.
Okay. Second. I have a motion by Director Rosbeck and a second by Director Krieger. If there's no more discussion, I'm going to call for this vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And the motion passes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Moving on. Item number 8, buy local program. Sean, you want to give us a brief overview of this?
Certainly. Let me just pull this up really fast. Okay, another recommendation coming out of the Business Marketing Committee. This also draws from that $2 million emergency relief fund that was established at the prior meeting. This program is a buy local program that has 2 components to it. The first component is a downtown dollars program. The second component is a resident discount card. So what the committee is recommending is that this downtown dollars program basically print what I guess what could be described as gift certificates, but they kind of act like currency that can be spent downtown with participating businesses. And we work with our public relations firm, Siren, to help distribute these in a creative way to get them out into circulation, to encourage people and incentivize them to spend more money downtown. The businesses can then take these gift certificates to the DDA, in which we can then issue them a check in the value of what they turn into us. As for the resident rewards card, similar scenario, we would work with Siren PR to distribute these throughout the community, and a cardholder could go into a participating business, show that they have the card, and that could qualify them for something like 10% off or any other discount that business owner wants to add on to that. So the Business Marketing Committee is recommend that the DDA approve the Downtown Dollars and Resident Reward Card program, and then allocate a total of $200,000 to fund the program.
Can I give a little more background? Just
sure, that's helpful, and then we'll ask questions.
So I'm just going to take them one at a time. The loyalty card, again, one of the first things that we thought of was we've got 60,000 people, like I said before, that we all share one thing in common, and that all says Royal Oak on our driver's licenses. And we wanted to do something to kind of, try to bring the community together and foster a buy local program to help, the businesses in the downtown area that are obviously going to be struggling, and God only knows what the rules are going to be going forward. God only knows how many people are going to, what the confidence level is and the appetite for consumers to come out and patronize. So what we wanted to do, and I just want you guys to remember this, that these are more stimulus programs than they are marketing and promotion programs. In other words, the goal of the Business Marketing Committee was to try to come up with the most homogenous type programs that could help every sector of our downtown businesses, whether it's Ridley's Comedy Castle, whether it's the nail salon, whether it's Right Impressions, whether it's Ronin, et cetera, et cetera. And an effective stimulus, I think, requires that a benefit is given that's immediate and noticeable. And that's what we're striving for here. So with the cards, and again, this is where we kind of, agonized around. Both of these programs, what we really like about them is that we can keep them in existence. Okay, the card program, we're going to make them, they're going to be printed cards. They're going to be fairly nice. And they'll obviously come with the description of what they are. And then we will figure out that there might be a situation whereby with the website where we might say, okay, here's what we really want to do. Like maybe we do want to do the 10% off thing, but people will have to opt into it. Okay. But the bottom line is these cards will be out there and everybody will have the opportunity to offer basically whatever they want to the card holders. Okay. So if somebody decides that they want to put in their window that whether it's called the Royal Oak Loyalty Card or whatever, that for the next 3 weeks, here's what I'm doing, we're giving a free appetizer for everyone. They're more than welcome to do that. They can tailor their thing. And by the way, this card, I believe, unless anybody has an objection with this, and I don't see why they would, we can also use this for some of the business-to-business people in town. The office people can use it as well. I mean, if there's a doctor who wants to, or an attorney who wants to give a free consultation or something like that, I don't see why they can't do that. We'll have signage that they can use. They accept the card. They can advertise, to people that they accept the card for these things. Moving on to, and I don't like the term gift certificates. The Royal Oak dollars, script, whatever, the actual notes. Again, we agonized over this one big time. There's demographics. I understand that the younger people don't like to carry cash and they don't use cash. I understand that coming out of COVID, that some people are very leery of handling cash. The other, we looked at the something via an app or something like that, or where it would be in your phone or a type of a card. The two big negatives to that is, one, to do that and give those out, we have to load them in advance. So we're paying for it. We as the DDA are paying for that, whether they use that or not. Okay. The other thing is the card system would just be an undertaking, to have people be able to accept it. The app program is such that the merchants who would accept it, the program that's out there now, it would be akin to taking an order over the phone. In other words, you would have to enter in the middle of your busy time or whatever, all 12 digits, the expiration code and the CVV. And we thought that was a little bit too cumbersome, especially under the situation. The other thing we like about the dollars, the note program, is that we can recirculate them. Okay. In other words, it doesn't have to end with the first 3 months out of COVID or whatever. We can use it. For example, whether it's one of the things that I had talked about was Arts Beats and Eats has totally been a very difficult time for retailers. Well, maybe we work with the promoter to hand these out with people who come in to be used for retail stores only within the footprint. Just an idea, things like that. We can use them at Christmas time or whatever. Again, I go back to what I said originally. There is no one size fits all. Some of these programs, people are going to, certain merchants are going to love. some they're not going to love. They're going to say, well, that doesn't fit me that well. We're just trying, not for unanimity. Again, like I said, I told the committee this. There's no chance of throwing a direct bullseye. It's not going to happen where we come up with the panacea that works for everybody. But we are, again, I'll go back to, we are not throwing darts in the dark. We have a couple more programs that we're going to be bringing to the next meeting to add on top of this. One other thing, I had a conversation with Director Baglio, and he was concerned about the fairness of rolling out programs earlier than others. And he brought up a really good point that certain sectors were probably going to open before others. It is our intention to not roll out any of these programs until all sectors are open, unless there happens to be like a small sector, whatever, that drags way behind or something like that. Then we'll have to figure something out. But our intention is to get these approved, get the production done on them so that they're, quote, in the can and ready to roll out at a moment's notice. And we might not even, there's a couple of the programs, we might not even roll out right away when everybody's open, because we need to judge, once again, the consumer's appetite for coming out, their confidence level. In other words, we don't want to go out there and shoot our wad and blow our promotion budget on these programs and find out that nobody wants to come out. But I will say it again, that you know, it's our feeling that in every, this sounds a little trite and cliche, but in every crisis there is opportunity. And we have an opportunity here to not only try to get unity throughout the city and bring retailers, restaurants, bars, salons, everybody together with the community, and do things that our surrounding neighboring communities don't have the ability to do.
Okay. Director London, please.
I have just two questions. So I know City of Royal Oak has an app. So if you do a program, let's just say, if you have a City of Royal Oak card, and you go to anyone who opts into the restaurant, hair salon, or retailer, says a free something with purchase, whatever. Would that be on the app? Like, how will they know? How do you let the person with the Royal Oak card know there's a promotion?
Sean, I'll let you handle that. I mean, and there's a couple ways actually, but go ahead, Sean.
So one way that we've discussed getting these cards into people's hands is that we are building a consumer-facing marketing email database, and if somebody signs up for it, they give us their information, and then we mail them a card. And because now that they're a subscriber, we can give them weekly updates on what deals are in town based on, the participating businesses, being obligated to notify us that, if you guys are having a deal for resident, card holders, let us know. We'll put that in that email and we'll send it out so that the card holders would be aware of it.
So it's only for downtown Royal Oak residents, the card?
No,
it'd be for Royal Oak residents.
City of Royal Oak residents.
Yep.
That's the intention.
All right, and then how can you randomly pass out money or gift cards to people?
So there are a number of ways that we've identified that we can do that. We decided that we would take those ideas, and instead of actually kind of being so rigid as to put them into the program, that we would actually work with Siren to come up with some creative ways to do that. So that's anywhere from, we could periodically send the card holders some of these downtown dollars, every quarter or something, maybe with some information on where they can spend it. I think mentioned earlier is that if they attend a downtown event, just by checking in or registering or signing up, they could be given some of these downtown dollars. Some things that come to mind is when you have to go into a vendor's tent for the holiday event, or when you have to register your pass for Spooktacular. Those could be potential examples. It was brought up that when you check in for Arts, Beats, and Eats or something like that, we could work out something similar in which, if you attend an event, you get these downtown dollars. Now you're incentivized to spend your money at a local retailer.
I'm sorry, Laurie, I'm sorry. Stuff like that is down the road stuff. The answer is, okay,
the 200,000 that we've got out here today, this is part of the buy local program. So these will be disseminated to Royal Oak residents, and they will be disseminated quickly. Okay?
How? And I meant the card, because
Right.
there's no events right now signing anybody up. So
Correct. And again, we're working with Siren. It might be a mass mailing. Okay. Again,
So the idea behind that was if they sign up for the marketing newsletter, we could send them a card in response to them signing up for the newsletter.
and I'm just going to tell you right now, this is part one of this program. There's a part two of this program that's coming next month. Okay. The bottom line is we want to get this out there. Okay. So that people have it and they can spend it only in downtown Royal Oak.
Okay. Director Baglio first.
My question is for Tim Twing. Tim, if I'm going to support this because I'm going to say yes to everything that could possibly be helpful to any business owner and people to get through this crisis. However, it hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened where I've had a great idea and not everybody feels the same way that I do about my idea. If for some reason there isn't the community support for these programs, one or the other, or a combination of both, is this money locked into these programs, or can we redirect it or massage it as time goes on?
Well, as with any budgeted item, if you don't spend it on that budgeted item for whatever reason, lack of participation, the projects cancel, those funds don't just sit there. They get rebudgeted either during the same fiscal year, or reallocated to another project based on the board's action, or if it's at the end of the fiscal year or at the end of the program and there's money left, they get reallocated in the next year's budget. So no, they're not locked in there until the program's either over or you decide to reallocate them because the program isn't going forward fast enough.
One thing, Director Baglio, that I just want to add. Of the 200,000 allotted here, you've got negligible. There's printing costs to print the cards and to print the notes. Okay, outside of that, it's disseminating the cards, whether it's mailing costs or however we get them to the residents, and getting the notes out. After that, the notes. The majority of it, the 200,000 is the value of the notes. They don't get cashed until they get used. Okay, so in other words, but I'm with you. If nobody's using them, well, then the program is a failure. But again, I think with the right promotion, and again, some merchants may decide they don't want to accept the money. And again, I'm not sure how that'll work. And we're working. Sean and I have had conversations about ways. There's a lot of ways with this script that we can get really creative. And I'm not at liberty to talk about them now because we're fleshing them out. I think a lot of the businesses are really going to like different things whereby we can reward purchases. In other words, maybe we do something along the lines of where if you buy a gift card from any merchant, you bring it to a possibly, and Tim's going to shudder when I say this, a satellite DDA office in the downtown area. Okay, whether it's a tent outside or maybe one of the containers at Eagle Park, where they can show their receipt and they get $10 worth of Royal Oak bucks. And if they buy $100 gift card, they get $20. Stuff like that. There's just a number of things that we can do to get creative here to get stuff out there immediately.
I just hope that we can encourage some stakeholder input, because I have ideas that I'd like to contribute to these ideas. One thing that comes to mind is seniors. They could really use this. I think this is a perfect fit for them. But I don't want to take everybody onto a.
No,
I just want to make sure that
this isn't.
I don't want you to think that these are close-ended. Okay, these are not. I mean, these things. Again, once again, the beauty of the script program is that we can recycle them. In other words, they're going to come back to Sean or somebody, and we can reuse them, and we can add programs down the road. All we're trying to do now is to do we're trying to do the buckshot approach. Just boom, get it out there and try to. Bad example, because a lot of their programs don't go too well, but the Fed sits there and usually sometimes they don't take too long in getting their programs out there. But like with the stimulus checks, they just wanted to get money out there to whether it was to calm people down or try to invigorate the economy. We're trying to do something similar to that, but a little more refined.
Okay, I have a couple hands here. I want to get to Director Rosbeck first.
Yeah, I think it's a good nugget of an idea. I appreciate it as a resident of Royal Oak that I could have this card, but I'll be honest with you. I have so many loyalty cards, or this kind of falls into that same category to me. And I would prefer that we spend the time to make it a thing we can put in our Apple Wallet or a Google Play, a virtual card. I would not want to spend the money on an actual hard card unless you pick it up from City Hall as a hard card. To mail out this could be also expensive. I like the idea of bucks, of Royal Oak bucks, but I think consumers like me would like to buy a generic gift card to be able to be used in downtown, not just and have some affiliated restaurants, retailers associated with it.
First of all, the card is a card. It's a plastic card. It just says you're a resident. Okay, there's nothing. There's nothing. It just says you're a resident. And as far as whether you want to use it or not, I guess that'll be up to what the various businesses offer you and whether that'll get you in the door to use it. Okay, it's trying to foster a buy local program, and that you are going to get deals at every place. As far as the script goes, and it'd be great if we could do Apple Pay with everything. Okay, but this, we actually looked at that, and the program is not available on there. It might be in 3 or 4 months, and we can change to that way going in the future. But then again, somebody said something about doing something for seniors. Well, boy, if you want Apple Pay, that might knock a lot of the seniors out of the box. I don't know if they all do Apple Pay or not. I'm not sure. Again, we were trying to.
I just want to back up. I'm not suggesting Apple Pay, but you use your wallet to have a Kroger card in there. I don't carry a lot of loyalty cards in my wallet. They're all on my phone. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Secondly, senior citizens, they have a card already through the city, and we should probably align with that at some point.
Well, we can scrap that part of the program. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. But the other thing, as far as the bucks go, saying that they would be for certain bars or restaurants, I mean, I don't understand that. The bottom line is they can be used anywhere.
That's my point, is that I like the idea. I'd also like the idea of citizens like myself being able to purchase a Royal Oak certificate to be used at a participating Royal Oak venue downtown. I think it's a good idea. I think you'd see people like me buying those certificates.
So do you think if you bought let's say it was Ridley's, and you bought a gift card at Ridley's, that not only would you get your gift card at Ridley's, but you'd get $10 of Royal Oak bucks that you could use anywhere. You could use at Ridley's or anywhere in Royal Oak that you wanted.
Right. Or I could buy a Royal Oak gift certificate for $50 and use it at Ridley's or use it at Right Impressions. That's what I'm saying. We could go that route, but I don't want to get the city into building out gift certificate programs that they'd have to manage. But I'm just saying it's like buying a Somerset Mall gift certificate. I can use it in any of those stores.
Yeah.
That's my point.
We have, just so you know, in the past, we've looked at programs like that. We've had a lot of difficulty with that, and I don't know where the technology is today, and I guess we could do a little bit more research into it. But one of the problems that we have is that developing a card, which is a Royal Oak gift card, and the business owners all having different POS systems that are in place, and it's very difficult to get those cards integrated into every single business's different POS system in order for them to accept it.
Totally understand.
But maybe that technology is advanced farther than the last time I looked at it. I don't know. I just know that there are some businesses that, I have antique POS systems. How are they going to accept the gift card in that way, shape, or form? But it's something we definitely can look into for sure.
Can I just convey some of the conversation that we had at the business marketing committee when we were talking about these different concepts, and specifically with this community cash concept? The idea was to, at least initially, send out some of this community cash to Royal Oak households so that they have some kind of incentive to start coming to the downtown again and spending money and supporting the businesses. So that was like the initial concept, the initial thought, the initial discussion. Sean, in fact, did some research and found that Birmingham employed this kind of concept very successfully. And I think where you were going with it, Jennifer, they modeled the program like we're talking, but also had a situation where if you buy or spend money in the downtown, you can turn in that receipt and then you are sent community cash as a reward or as a bonus for spending money in the downtown. That's something that's where we can take the program down the road initially, and I think that would accomplish everything that you're suggesting, Jennifer. I think that covers it. This is the first step only, and the first step is to send out close to $200,000 to Royal Oak households to just get the ball rolling, just get people used to spending money in the downtown again. And so I think we're accomplishing by doing that everything that we're all the other comments that we're hearing, and we can expand the program and we can make it better and leverage the money by rewarding people if they buy a $5.15 gift certificate. Maybe they can get a $20 in community cash or something like that. Those programs down the road, that's what's beautiful about the program. It's so flexible. It allows us to go in so many different directions with it. So I don't think we're foreclosing any of those things right now. All we're saying right now is initially we're going to send out a couple $100,000 and have it, be invested in the downtown development district.
And going back to what I said originally, these, again, I don't want to look at these as, yes, they are kind of marketing promotional items, but these are economic stimulus items. What we're trying to do is to get money as fast as we can to be spent in our downtown area. And it almost like it kind of came to us that it was so effing easy that it was stupid. Well, the easiest way to do that is to put money in people's pockets that they can only spend in the downtown area anywhere they want. I don't know a simpler way to do that. I understand the gift card things and the things like that make a lot of sense, but you're gonna have far better success with people taking $10 bills and going out and spending them than you are getting people to go online and buying their gift cards. I understand it's a nice thing to offer. Right now, we're trying to get people to come back and help. People are going to need business right away. And that's what we're trying to do with these programs. There's other programs we can do.
I'm not disagreeing, Matt. So don't take my comments as disagreeing. I think I'm just asking that I'm going to approve this motion when it's made, but I want to make sure that we're thinking of it, to your point, the longevity of it. It's a good program. It's got legs.
Right.
And I'd like to do it the most economical way so you can put more money in my pocket to go spend downtown. But I want to make sure that we're doing it so that young professional that you want spending your time at your establishment and to other people. The senior citizen population does use smartphones. I mean, and they would use this. But I'm just saying, I'm looking at this to keep as much money in your stimulus as opposed to using it on mailing costs. I'm in marketing. I know how much this costs.
Okay, Jennifer, I think you got some really good points. Absolutely, and I agree with you. And I don't want to, as Matt indicated, the door is somewhat open here. And as far as from my point of view is that if we go along and we find that there's a better way to do a program, we can definitely adapt to that. And there's no reason why we can't add an additional program into this package. So, I mean, we definitely have some flexibility here. And to take your comments and do a little bit of research on them, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I think it's a great idea. Director London.
I just want to add support to Jennifer's comment. I like the idea of a wallet on your cell phone. I know we can't do everything at once. So
yeah, but we can start looking. I think we definitely can look into it. I think
everyone always remembers their cell phone. No, people don't always remember to bring their loyalty card.
Gotcha.
Sean, what were they 3 to 4 months out on Apple Pay? Is that about right?
Yeah, to give everyone some clarity, when I was doing some research on this program, I spoke to the director of the Birmingham Principal Shopping District, and they presently operate a similar program. It started as, paper certificates that they called Birmingham Bucks that they rolled out when they had their big Main Street project so that they could encourage shopping during that time. They ended up completely transitioning to an electronic program with a company called Yifty that's actually previously done work in downtown Detroit. So you have an electronic gift card on your phone, and you can walk into any participating business, and they bring up that gift card, and then they type in the 16-digit number just like a MasterCard, and it runs on their POS system exactly like a MasterCard does. So Mike, to your point, about the different style point of sale systems not being able to deal with it. If the business can accept a MasterCard, it could accept this program.
Yeah, that's a good point. The
drawback to this is that it doesn't yet integrate into Apple Wallet. So they told me that they're working on that now, and they're likely going to have that capability by the end of the year. They're still several months out from finalizing everything they need to do so that it integrates into that program, which I think would be a no-brainer in terms of its convenience.
Right.
So it's a little premature as far as that goes. Another drawback is there are some management fees that this company does charge. So if you buy a gift card, they tack on a fee to it. And if you buy hundreds of gift cards in advance, like if you subsidize them, then you'll be paying a substantial amount of management fees for those.
Okay.
Well, one last thing, Jennifer. And as far as the economics of it, and again, we looked at the whole Yifty thing, and the labor intensity of entering all the digits just seemed overwhelming. But even when you get to the Apple Pay portion, you've got to load that. But like if you send out gift cards, for example, and you send them on your keychain or whatever, we'd have to pay in advance for that. The great economics of this of the script program is that we don't pay for it until it gets turned in to the DDA to pay. In other words, someone's got to use it. So let's say we go about it the wrong way and we target the wrong audience with it. And we put it in the wrong hands. Well, after a month, if nobody's using them, well, then we know that we did it wrong, and then we got to put our heads back together and figure out a better who
how do we better get these out there so people are going to use them? But the only thing that's costed us is the small printing of the bills, and it's, I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with that, and I'm not advocating to add money to people's live cards. That's not what I'm advocating for. I'm just advocating that we look into a virtual card, and at some point we can make it a virtual monetary card.
I think that's a good idea because I think
that's all I'm advocating.
But just so you know, we had tossed around the idea of making cards and loading them and getting them out there. But the problem with that,
I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go to Director Baglio here.
I from what I'm hearing here is everybody's in support of this resolution and developing it, but there's still some room for development. So I'm in a motion that we approve the resolution as written and allow the BMC to continue to massage it.
Okay. I have a motion by Director Baglio. Second by Director Rosbeck. Any further discussion at this point?
Well, I have a question for clarity, Mike.
Sure.
Are we massaging this program so that it's coming back? Or are we approving what the BMC is talking about in terms of generating rewards cards and actually distributing them at some point in the future? Is it the board's anticipation that you're going to see this again before it goes out? Are you looking for refinement? Because I heard Gary's motion was approve the resolution, but let the BMC refine it.
I want to
Not
clarify.
sure what that means.
So Tim,
The other part of my comment would be that any of these certificates that you have, cards, are all going to have an expiration date on them. Otherwise, they're going to float out there, and you're going to be responsible for funding it until somebody uses it. So if you do a certificate or a currency program and you put out $100,000 worth of currency, and in a month you want to go another direction, you're going to have to maintain that $100,000 until it expires. In case somebody does use it 2 months out, 3 months out, 4 months out. So I don't know the rush on this program, because until business is open downtown, nobody's going to be able to spend. So if you want refinement, maybe you can postpone it, refine it, and then bring it back so that you're comfortable with it. But
I'm comfortable.
So that's just my comment.
I'm comfortable with it. I don't think we've said it has to be delivered the way it's a card and it's community cash. I don't think the mechanics of it were supposed to be refined, as Matt said and Sean has said. So I think that's what we're approving, is that high level thought process. How we deliver on that could be refined at a future meeting, I think.
I still feel like there needs to be some stakeholder input on, especially the card part. I'm speaking for myself. I'm not in a position with my business right now to offer a discount to anybody.
You don't have to, Gary. Gary, we just want to print the damn cards. Can we print the cards?
Well, what is the, I mean, I think it's.
Then table it. Table it a month. Table it a month. Okay? You're going to be open June 1st. Table it a month, okay? Just push it back as far as you want. Do you want to get them out when? August, September? And let's take it to the stakeholders and get everybody's opinion. This was meant to be a simple freaking thing that we could get out there and you guys could offer whatever you wanted around it, okay? We might make a suggestion. We might come out with something like 10% off. Maybe that'll get people into downtown. But if you want to get everybody's opinion on everything, we're going to have 18 different programs with 7 different antlers on it. We tried to keep it simple. It didn't work.
Matt,
the whole thing.
I think
clarify though, what your program is really doing is the card has no value.
Correct.
Right now. And if you get community bucks and it gets turned in at a location like Gary's, he would have to assume, put in a request for reimbursement on that community buck. That's it.
At the end of the week, he's got $100 in bucks. He takes it to Sean. This is simple. And Sean cuts him a check for $100.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what this
I
is.
mean, you want to, how long do you want? If you called up 15 retailers right now and told them we're talking about this, they would say, why in the heck? They think we're crazy for agonizing over this. I mean, what? I mean, maybe I'm stupid. I don't know anything simpler than putting money in somebody's pocket that they can only spend in the downtown area. I can't imagine a better way to spend your money. And it doesn't cost us anything until they spend it.
I don't think, from my, as I'm watching the discussion going here, and this is just me thinking here, I think we're all on the same page in terms of the community dollars. We all seem to think that that's a good workable program and that, and so forth. I think what, the little bit of concern that I am hearing is regarding the discount card and how that is going to take effect and what kind of participation we're going to get. That's what it's sounding like to me.
You're exactly right, Mike.
Okay, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here.
Is
Because
the issue, the card, the whole concept of the card itself? That I mean, the whole
no, whether I think what I'm hearing, again, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think what I'm hearing is that there's concern about what the participation will be among the retailers or all the other businesses in terms of the card itself, and whether the program is strong enough to support that as we move forward. I think that's what I'm hearing. That's all I'm saying.
But I think we should move forward with it because we should start with something and then change it.
Right.
Totally agree.
And I think Laura, you make a good point, and Jennifer made the point earlier too. Is it actually in both of these programs, and this is what I want to clarify for everybody. Both of these programs, the community dollars and a discount program, we may look at and Matt, we may go with this right now, like Matt's saying, go with this right now and get it out there, get it in action, and then as Jennifer has said, 6 months from now, we may find a better way to distribute those bucks. We may find a better way to get a discount or a gift certificate card out there. We may find that down the road. The program is adaptable.
I guarantee you we will. And again, I just want to remind everybody, the whole process here was to think of a few simple things that we could do. We thought were simple, that we could do fairly quickly, get them out to as many people as possible, and encourage people to come to our downtown area. And so again, the whole loyalty card program, the way we thought about that, because the first thing we thought is we want to draw customers here. And we're like, well, we got 60,000 of them right here in Royal Oak. So let's try to give them a way to come into town.
Okay, and also as a term for clarity for everybody here is, I've heard Matt say a number of times we wanted to get it out there quickly. And he's absolutely right. We do want to get it out there and get it in the hands of businesses and get stimulus going and getting more activity going. But also, we're not going to roll the program out until the DDA feels it's ready to be rolled out based on the amount of people coming into Royal Oak and their comfort level and what's going on in the city at that time. We're not going to start a program when there's nobody out there right now walking the streets.
But
we do have the ability to adjust the time and to set the times when we roll these programs out. So I just want to clarify that also in case there was some concern there.
But again, the thought process was fairly simple, and we wanted to at least get the production of the cards and whatever.
Agreed, and I meant to say that, and I didn't.
So we have that done. There's lead time. I mean, we just went through the light thing where we're like, okay, let's do the lights. Well, guess what?
What we're doing is, in a way, what we're kind of doing, approving today is to start the planning stages and to get everything in, as he said, quote unquote, in the can and ready to go when the DDA feels it's ready to roll out here. So I hope that kind of summarizes things.
So am I going to have to modify my motion?
No,
I'm good
to approve. You didn't ask to have anything attached to it. I remember. Mr. Twing, you were taking some notes, I think. Was there?
No, I'm good with it.
Okay. There was a motion by Director Baglio, and I just want to double check. It was seconded by Director Rosbeck.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments at this time? Okay, if not, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Okay, just a couple more here. Item number 9, recommendation to waive patio fees. Okay.
Well, this
Sean,
also,
it's got your name on it. I don't know if you or Tim will want to handle this.
go ahead, Sean.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Sean.
No problem. So this is also a recommendation coming out of the Business Marketing Committee. They are recommending that the DDA pass a resolution formally requesting that the City Commission require waiving, or the City Commission consider waiving patio fees for 2020. The reasons for this is that patio season began on April 15th. We're already well into the end of March or end of May before restaurants are going to be able to reopen again. So they'll be out approximately 6 weeks of this season. In addition to that, waiving patio fees will help reduce the numerous costs that downtown businesses are facing, especially during this time. So including all the other costs that they have to consider in terms of reopening and whatnot, this could be considered a form of relief to some of the business owners who operate patios, throughout the season. So there's a resolution here. And again, that resolution is to recommend to the City Commission to consider waiving patio fees for 2020.
Okay, I'm going to go first with Director London. I've got a number of hands.
I was going to say, let's just vote. I have nothing to say, but if Gary wants to add something.
Okay, well, no, you go ahead. If you want to make a motion, and we'll have time for
Well, I
discussion.
think Gary wants to say something.
No, I was going to motion to make the motion.
Make a motion to waive the patio fees for the 2020 season.
And I'll
Director-
second with, and hopefully we can have some discussion because I want to add
Okay,
some.
yes. Okay, give me 1 minute here. So I've got a motion by Director London, second Director Baglio, and I'm going to go to questions and comments, but I want to go to Director Krieger first.
I was gonna make the exact same motion, so I don't really have anything beyond that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go back to, I'll go to Mr. Gillum first, and then I'll go to Mr. Baglio after.
Just a quick comment for everybody on the board. I had a couple different restaurateurs in the downtown area reach out to me to see if this is something that the city would consider doing. I had sent a letter out to all the businesses that had a sidewalk cafe last year to let them know that this is something that the city commission would be considering. What I had intended to do was to bring the issue forward to the city commission at a point in time where we had a better idea as to when the restaurants might be able to open back up. The only question I have in my mind is whether or not the city commission will want to entirely waive the fees, or they potentially could just prorate the fees for the year, depending upon the amount of time. But I appreciate the marketing committee bringing this forward. We'll go ahead and get this teed up if the motion is approved by the DDA this afternoon, and I expect it will be. Then we've already penciled this in for the city commission agenda on Monday, May 18th.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gillum. Director Baglio.
This is directed at Mr. Twing and you, Mr. Gillum. Right now, in my mind, the biggest hurdle facing restaurants is going to be when they are allowed to open is their capacity issues. It looks as though most of them are going to be ordered to open at 25 or 50% of their capacity. So and this could be in the form of another motion after this motion passes. I'm not sure how we do it, but I'd like to compel the city commission in some way, shape, or form to take a look at the ordinances governing sidewalk cafes in an effort to help some of these restaurants recoup what they lose inside indoor capacity and can gain moving them somehow creatively outside, whether it's, moving them closer to the curbside, or with using parklets, or using their back patios, and increasing their outdoor capacities. And then if we can do that, if the city commission can do that, expedite the permitting process and the process to go through planning and building department to get these things done in a time to recoup some of the season when they are allowed to open. Just for clarity, if an indoor restaurant is going to lose 50 seats and they're allowed to increase their outdoor capacity by 25 seats, in addition to what they already have, and still respect the social distancing guidelines, that won't be as bad of a hit as what it normally would be if they have to spread their outdoor patios, tables 6 feet apart. And some of them are going to have 3 tables out there. I hope I'm making myself clear. And then additionally, on top of that, if we can do this, I'm going to suggest that the infrastructure committee revisit its facade program to either put some more money towards it so that restaurateurs can apply for misters and gas lamps and things that will, building supplies to help them make those outdoor patios more functional during a 100-degree day in the midsummer and last well into the fall. Did I say that correctly? And is that even possible? I know it's a lot.
Well, I'm going to go to Director Gillum first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gary, as to your first point, I think what you'll find is that the City Commission will probably be very receptive to creative ideas as to how we can work with the businesses to help them make up for a lack of capacity inside if there are restrictions that are put in based upon square footage. And I certainly don't have any inside information, but based upon what the governor has done with the requirements that she's put in place for some of the big box stores that she's allowed to reopen, I think that's probably a logical conclusion. I think the restaurants are probably going to be limited in that way too. So there are some practical limits as to what we can do on the sidewalk, because we still have to allow for people to be able to get past, including people that are in wheelchairs and are disabled. But again, I think we'll be creative. The other thing that is really out of the city's control, but I think we'd be supportive on, there'll have to be some concessions or some changes made by the Michigan Liquor Control Commission too for the restaurants that serve alcohol outside, because there are limits as to what areas alcohol can be served. And short of having everyone have to go through the MLCC process every time they want to make some kind of a modification, there are going to have to be some changes either in terms of state law or at the very least in terms of some of the administrative regulations that the MLCC has in place. But again, to emphasize, I think the City Commission will be very supportive of any reasonable requests or suggestions that any of the businesses in the downtown come up with.
Director Riley.
Yeah, Director Baglio, all great ideas, and Director Gillum, that's great to hear. I did a little digging, and this is something that Ann Arbor is kicking around. They're kicking around. They're thinking about whether closing blocks or streets, and I don't know whether we want to get into that, but they're really looking at utilizing metered parking spots, across from the sidewalk, sort of like I guess Birmingham does that a lot with the platform dining. Sean, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Like in other words, like I've seen places in Birmingham where they might have a cafe and then they have the sidewalk and then they have a little platform out in the area. And the other thing they're looking at, and whether this would apply or not, I haven't walked the city, but they're looking at also using, like Gary had mentioned, the alleys as well, if it doesn't impede traffic. So I'm in total marching step with Director Baglio, and if we do another resolution and
yeah, I would look for Mr. Gillum for direction on that. Should we be adding that idea or that concept or that recommendation for the city to take a look at it to this resolution, or should we not make it part of this resolution? And then maybe you can bring it to the city commission attention, or how do you feel comfortable about us moving forward here?
Well, if we're talking about things that the DDA would like to see the city commission do, I would go ahead and pile them on. I would include them in the same resolution.
Okay.
The point that Gary had brought up before had to do with whether or not the infrastructure committee or one of the subcommittees wanted to take some action. If there's anything there, I think that should be a separate resolution, a separate discussion.
Okay.
I did
All
type
right.
something out.
Well, Gary, what do you, Mr. Baglio, how do you feel about just adding it on to this resolution in its simple form, and then maybe referring to the infrastructure committee
As a
to act on
recommendation.
it as soon as possible?
I'm good with that. I wrote something up that I could make a friendly amendment to my, oh wait, Lori, you made the
Yeah,
resolution.
but it's okay. You can take it over.
I can read it if you'd like.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Let's go for it. You want to make this part of the motion is that what you're trying to get to?
I guess, I mean, unless it's cleaner if we do two separate ones, it doesn't really matter. to
No.
me.
I under Mr. Gillum's direction here, he seems to think that would be more effective for us to make this part of the recommendation to the city commission.
Then a friendly amendment would be it resolved, the DDA hereby approves the recommendation to request the city commission direct staff to review and update sidewalk cafe ordinances in conjunction with the MLCC to reflect new social distancing guidelines in an effort to redirect temporary redistricted indoor capacity limitations to increased outdoor seating and streamline the application, inspection, and approval process to adapt to the current timeliness of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Tim, I can send this to you.
That would be great.
Okay. Well worded. Well worded. Thank you.
And I do have, just again for my clarity, I assume what we're talking about when we're waiving patio fees, it's for renewals. It's not for anyone that would come in as requesting a new patio.
Oh, that's a good call.
Or are you covering all of them?
Well, I think the current motion says all patio fees for 2020 for this season. What is the DDA's wishes?
I would say all patios.
I would agree with Director Baglio. I mean, the bottom line is we're trying to help everybody get every piece of business they can.
I agree. Just keep it simple.
There are certain restaurants downtown that have very, very, very small, in fact, they're just doorways that do have parking lots in their rear, in the back, that they could turn into outdoor seating relatively quickly. I think that we need to help them as much as possible.
Let's hope that encourages everyone to clean up their parking lots and alleys. Could be a boom.
There are some that have private parking lots that could be turned into, we need to
think outside the box.
Exactly. And I also think that that's going to give the public a new reason to come to downtown Royal Oak to see the innovative things that we're doing.
Mm-hmm. I second your motion, Gary.
Okay, I have a motion on the table by Director Baglio, second by Director London. Any discussion, comments? I have one question for Mr. Gillum. So, Mr. Gillum, would you expect to see some action at the commission level, at least on the first portion of the motion?
We'll certainly tee it up again, as I indicated.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking for you to. I'm not asking for you. I'm just asking that there would be some sort of discussion, and at least you plan on putting it on the agenda, I guess, is what I'm basically asking.
In anticipation of some kind of a motion like this being passed this afternoon, yeah, we've already got it penciled in for the agenda on the 18th.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call for the vote then. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Okay, last item on the agenda. Item 10, other business. Tim? You're muted. Yeah.
Yes, no, I'm not. I did email out Sean and I had been working on, and Dave had input on, was a memo of understanding for a program assistant position to assist Sean with the rollout of the recovery or the rebound program and some of that. So if you've had a chance to look at it, review it, make comments on it, and I know Sean can walk you through it, and then potentially approve it today. We would try to bring someone on board on the 11th.
Okay. Sean, did you have anything you wanted to add to this? I don't think you need to take us through it. We all got it in front of us. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I think everything that I intended to include in that is written in black and white. So,
okay. Director Riley.
Yeah, one thing, just wondering if it was something that we had to put in there for protocol or human resources. I'm just wondering why we're capping it at 16 hours a week.
Well, we are trying to budget for it, and what you're willing to budget for it. Unless you want to, there's no way to have an open-ended number. The way we drafted it was to say 16 hours a week, and the way we talked about it, you could do 32 hours a week. But once you ran over the cap of hours, we'd bring it back for the board to approve an extension.
Okay, so then that was my concern. My concern is that, you know, we get into the fire, and particularly during application week and some of the other stuff. And if we're going to go over that, so we don't have to suspend the work. We just have to.
You have to get approval. You have to come back to the board, right, Tim, to get approval over 32.
Yep.
So I know that I was questioning this before, but if we're going to do it, my opinion would be that we have at least 40. I don't know, just because what if, right? I mean, like, I would think that Sean could manage the intern and say, listen, we want you at this time, but if for some reason we get pinched and you need overtime to make things happen, especially this fast timeline, I'd hate to hamstring ourselves.
Well, I'm not reading it as hamstringing you to 16 hours a week and the assumption of budgeting. If Sean decides they need to do 32 hours in a week or 40, they can.
Oh, okay.
It's a estimation of 16 hours.
Got it.
As a
$15.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, as a clarification, it's written in there that the hours can increase or decrease based on workload, but that total number of 192 total. If we start to approach to breach that 192, we have to approve more hours above and beyond the 192. So for each respective week, we could go over 16 hours as needed.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thank you.
So we're really held to the 192. So I wanted to avoid having to call a emergency DDA meeting to extend the assistant. Okay, got it. We're good.
Okay.
Need a motion to approve.
Is there a resolution here?
No.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I second.
Okay. Motion by Director Krieger, seconded by Director Rosbach.
Question, Mr. Chair. I know at some point there was discussion about potentially posting this position, but I mean, the resolution we have in front of us is to approve an agreement, and it's not just to hire someone, it's to hire a specific individual.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know about this person? So who are we hiring potentially, or who are we using as an independent contractor here?
I guess Sean or Director Riley, maybe you could get some clarification there.
Sure, I'll give it. It's her name is Jordan Sachs. She's a junior at University of Florida, so she'll be working from home. And she had time, and she's qualified. And Sean talked to her, basically went through everything she was going to need to do, and that's pretty much it.
Sean, you had some discussion, right, with her? Yeah.
I've spoken to her a few times. Yes. Yeah. This individual was recommended as part of this from the business marketing committee.
Well, and that's fine. I mean, I understand if Sean's comfortable, Sean's the one that's going to be basically supervising and keeping an eye on her. I just wanted to make sure that somebody had taken a look at who it is we were bringing on board. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gill. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Any motions?
Got one.
You got one?
You already have.
Oh, I'm sorry. We already did that? Okay.
So.
Then we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Tim, do you have anything else?
The last thing that I indicated before Gary had wanted to talk about was the special events that the DDA is sponsoring. My understanding is potentially the City Commission will be considering the two events anyways, changing the dates on those. That being Metro Times Blowout, potentially from the June 5th and 6th date to an October 2nd and 3rd date. And then the Rock and Rye from the June 19th, 20th, and 21st to a September 25th through the 27th. Those are the only two that I'm aware of based on current summaries that the commission may consider changing dates on at the request of the promoters. Both of those agreements do have those specific dates in them in terms of carrying it out. But those are the two I'm aware of, Gary. Dates, I'm not aware of any that you sponsor. I'm not aware of specific request to change anything there. But those other two, that's what I'm aware of. So I don't know what you want to do with it, Gary, but that's what I have.
Okay. Mr. Gillum, just to be clear, are those two items for discussion at the City Commission meeting also?
This is primarily an update item that was prepared by Chief O'Donoghue for the benefit of the City Commission.
Okay.
If the City Commission doesn't have any objection to any of the changes that are proposed by the police department, those will be the new dates for those events. These are events that were previously approved, and the chief is trying to be as accommodating as he possibly can, given all the circumstances, everything that's been going on. So,
okay.
Unless the commission has a problem, those will be the new dates.
Okay, I have a number of hands here. Director London?
Well, we don't know what the governor is going to say about a carnival.
Absolutely.
The date, if it's approved, if it's approved by the state, it can go forward. But if it's not approved, then it can't go forward.
Well, my question, Dave, would be the agreements with the DDA for sponsorship have specific dates in them as of June 5th for Blowout, July 19th, 20th, and 21st for Rock and Ride. If they don't occur on those dates, is the DDA obligated to fund or sponsor? I think that's where Gary's going.
And I've got a lot of public relation thoughts to go along with those things. I was very, very excited about Rock and Rides. It's the perfect event for downtown Royal Oak. However, that event is going to bring crowds into our bars and performance venues. We don't even know. I mean, my venue is a performance venue, and I don't know if I will be open at that time. And my fear is that we had an opportunity to launch this event and make a big splash, and now it's unsure if we'll even be able to do it. Speaking in terms of that particular event, I'd feel more comfortable postponing it a year and doing it right when we can, rather than just keep kicking the can down the road in an effort to, hopefully maybe we can do it. Secondly, I also got an email from the city, I believe last week, about Clay and Glass Art of Fire, which is going to be moved to the end of August. That makes me very, very nervous. for one reason only. It's not a super crowded event. However, with all of the other events in Metro Detroit being canceled, that potentially could be a very crowded event. And it makes me nervous that we're going to do that in our city. As divided as the public is about this pandemic, I think that inviting any negative publicity that we might encounter would be a bad idea. I think we need to err on the side of caution and just say no. If we want to spend our event dollars and reallocate them to helping restaurants expand their patios to make people feel very comfortable in a socially distant outdoor cafe and spend a couple hours down here, that's money well spent, and it will last the entire season. Spending $50,000 or $30,000 on a 2-day, event that may or may not happen, or a carnival or an art show, there are too many unknowns. I think we should err on the side of caution, and this season just concentrate on making people feel comfortable down here and not forcing crowds. Spooktacular is another event. I can't in good conscience think of all of those kids down here with this still not under control. I could be wrong. October could be very different, but I just feel that the money that we're spending on these things could be spent to really invest in our downtown to make people feel comfortable safely.
Okay. Director Rosbeck, I saw your hand earlier, didn't I?
No,
Okay, I'm sorry. Director Riley.
Yeah, just Gary makes good points. I guess the whole thing is that I'm really apprehensive to just shut the door and say no, particularly when we're not the only ones regulating the crowd size in the events. I mean, we've been looking towards the government and our governor to do that. And we're abiding by everything that they say. And the one thing in all of this that we've dealt with in the BMC is, like I said, it just keeps changing. And what I'd hate to do is just put the kibosh on everything and then find out that, that there's either testing or serums or what have you by July. And all of a sudden we've said no to these things, and they are things that could, help our businesses. I understand what you're saying, and it because there's a lot of things that we've thought about that, boy, we got to be careful. It's not like, we want to push people into doing things, like or put people in jeopardy and seem quote unquote money hungry. But I don't like the idea of just shutting the door entirely.
Okay.
Alex, can I add?
Yeah, good. I was just going to you, Mr. Director Yasbeck. That's what I was going to ask.
Thank you. I would just argue that, going back to Director London's point in a previous discussion, when we are finally allowed to open up, we are going to need all the business that we can to survive. And we don't even know what this COVID-19 is going to look like next week, let alone in September or October. So I think it would be incredibly short-sighted to terminate these very good events or events that we previously approved for whatever reasons, I assume because they are good events. That Ferndale and Birmingham and Detroit are going to be doing all kinds of activities if we are all allowed. So I certainly wouldn't want to put us in behind all those places by eliminating some very good ideas for really no reason. If they're not allowed at that time, then they won't be allowed. But it makes no sense to terminate those potentially very, very good events and very events that bring a lot of people to the downtown, which is what we've just been discussing for the last 3 hours on how to do that.
Yeah, and Director Asbick brings up a good point. There's also something else to consider with this, is that if you have somebody who's getting ready or wants to put the event on, and we say, well, you can't put it on here, I guarantee you that there's going to be several of our surrounding communities who would roll out the red carpet for those events, and we may lose them not only for this year, but forever.
Okay. First, I just want to check with Director Krieger, see if he had anything he needed to add at this point.
No.
Okay. I'll go to Director London then.
Laura, you're on mute.
Thank you. Is every single concert, major concert and event has been canceled. So I think we look foolish, but I think the governor and the concert venues are, I bought tickets for a concert in July. It's already been canceled. I think most major events have been canceled. So I think it's going to, everything's going to get canceled anyways.
I agree with Director London. I think this is just going to play out that way normally.
And just to piggyback, I mean, we're lumping all of the events into one category. And my statement about Blowout is it was a brand new event to our city. They really want to do it here. I don't think there's a danger of losing it. I do think that we would benefit by postponing it for a year. I think next year we can do it. We can do it right. And there won't be any question. I feel bad that we're not going to be able to do it this year, but I don't see it happening. And Art of Fire, I mean, that's not our event, so I have no control over it. Again, it still makes me nervous. And the carnival isn't it's not a major event, so that I think that one concerns me the most because we're putting kids at risk, but it was never crowded when we did it before. So it shouldn't, I just don't see spending $30,000 on that.
Okay. Okay. I'm not seeing any other comments here. I will say that if, from my personal point of view, and this will be my last comment, is that if we were, I think it's premature for us. I agree with Director Yesbeck. I think it's premature for us to take any action at this point right now. If we needed to, we always can. I'm not comfortable with all the unknowns out there right now, just to pull the trigger and say no, or even if someone were to approach us to say yes to something, I wouldn't be comfortable in either direction. So I wouldn't support closing anything down or making any changes right now. But that being said, Director Gillum.
Just, I guess, general advice. I mean, I understand the issues, believe me, and these are the same type of discussions that we've been having on the city level about hundreds of events that are scheduled throughout the city and have been for the whole summer. But if you are considering actually going ahead and terminating or canceling any events where you've already made a monetary commitment, I think there's a very good argument that can be made, depending upon the agreement, that you're not going to be obligated to pay. For example, if we've committed money for a blowout on certain dates in June, and it's not going to happen on those dates in June, I don't think you're going to have to pay for it. But my suggestion would be, rather than dealing with these on kind of a hit or miss basis on something that really isn't even on your posted agenda for today, that if you want to formally discuss cancellation or withdrawal from your participation in any of the events, that you put them on a posted agenda in advance and you notify the other party to the contract and have them come in, and let's have some discussion at an open meeting about what the DDA's intentions are. And if your decision at that point in time is to go ahead and terminate the agreement, then feel free to go ahead and do it.
Okay, thank you. Director Rosbeck.
I just want to add also that with Metro Times especially, we should stay close to that. They're having issues with just having no advertisers right now. So,
Right.
you know, he might look like a bad guy trying to pull that away from them and putting them out of business potentially as well. So I don't want to, I would like to just keep close to both of these events. And
Well, as we just did, I had a discussion with Director Yazbek, and I suggested to him that he make contact with Julie Law, who we've committed to do a couple of our events this year, and to reach out to her and get some updates as her status and where she's at. I have no problem, and I think it would be prudent for us to reach out to some of these current promoters, including Metro Times, and get some updates and discussions going with them also. I just think that's a wise way to go. So we can definitely do that. So I'm comfortable with that. So if there's no action to be taken right now, is there anything else, Tim, that you wanted to bring?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. And I'll give the board any opportunity if there's any other thing they needed to discuss for today's meeting. If not, I appreciate everybody's time again. These are some tough times, and I really, really like the work that we're doing here. And I appreciate everybody's help. So that being said, Director Krieger, do you have anything?
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. A second, please. Seconded by Director Rossman. Any discussion? If not, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned.